Okay, so in Syria, everybody knows that Al Qaeda is the CIA. Like, it's really, really common knowledge. You can ask any kid on the street, and he'll tell you that. So it's not really like what you just said. Though I haven't heard about it, it doesn't surprise me at all because there's just so much information out there already of people that turned out to be double agents that were captured and supposed to be part of Al Qaeda. So
Yeah, go over that because I've seen.
well, um, first of all, you have the one of the Libyan rebel leaders. Turns out he was tortured in Guantanamo Bay, and he's part of Al Qaeda. And we all know that NATO and the U.S. they supported the Libyan rebels. So they're one of the big signs now, which is what I mentioned in my video, is that they're actually working with Al Qaeda in these countries that we are seeing insurgencies. So Libya was one of them, and in Syria also there are videos now coming out of some of the protesters and some of the people in the so-called Free Syrian Army, which is what the insurgents, the name they give themselves, carrying Al-Qaeda flags. And these are like widely available on YouTube. You can just search for it and it's there. If I can go on, another big indicator would be Al Jazeera, who's since the very beginning was the only station that was able to get video of Osama bin Laden giving speeches, and was the only one that was able to play them, well, or desired to play them. And whenever we heard about Al Qaeda, it was always from Al Jazeera. They're here, they're there. It was the thing that was promoting them. And who controls Al Jazeera? Well, Qatar. Because it's Qatar's state TV.
Who is sending?
It's very obvious, and it was obvious from the very, very beginning. Like 8 years ago, or maybe it was more than 8 years ago, when Al Jazeera even started, you could tell by the way they reported things.
Well, the word is it's
pretty much either U.S. or British.
Israeli.
It doesn't really matter because they're all one entity working, together. Israel and the country Qatar, they're allies. They're allies with the U.S. They control each other. So it's like one big monster.
That's right. Continue.
It's when you're on the spot, it's difficult to think of them. There's just so many. I'd like to. This is maybe not an Al Qaeda example, but it's a very important example of false flag operations. I'm not sure if anybody remembers, but in Iraq, in Basra, 2 British soldiers, like special forces soldiers, were captured dressed up as Arabs, shooting at Iraqi police, which was by then under the control of the occupation. And they were dressed in black to mimic sort of like the Mahdi army, and their car was filled with explosives. And this was all over the news. And the British army the British leadership were so panicked about it that they sent the army in to destroy and level the entire police station. This is a police station that was allied with them, to get these men out, and they did. But you can imagine what they knew and what they were doing, dressed up as Arabs, attacking their supposed allies. So,
well, you're right. In fact, while you're talking, I just typed British soldiers captured in Basra, and it's...
Sure thing. It's just, divide and conquer. It's just like the old war game, applied to Shias and Sunnis. I mean, you can apply the same thing to Catholics and Protestants. So at the moment, Iran and Lebanon has a Shia-like population, and they form an alliance with Syria, and they could, they have Hezbollah, which is directly opposing Israel. So on the one hand, they are enemies of the Shia, and then you have the Palestinians who are Sunni, who are also fighting Israel. So on the other hand, they're against the Israelis are against the Sunnis as well. So in Iraq, the Americans allied themselves with a lot of the Shia, although there were a lot of Sunni collaborators as well. They wanted to get the Shia in power over the Sunnis because it was beneficial for them. It was a way in. And they got muscled out by the Iranians, but that's another story. But around the Middle East, it is mostly the Sunni majority countries which are in the Gulf Arab region and in North Africa, not the Levant region where I was saying that the Al-Qaeda it's purported to be a Sunni organization, but not exactly Sunni. It's something worse, like more extreme, called Salafi, and or Wahhabi is another extreme sect that they're very similar. So in the same time, the majority Sunni theocratic countries like Saudi Arabia and Qatar and the Gulf Arab states are actually allies with the US. So it's a really complicated mess. But when whatever country, the US doesn't care which side it plays, whether it plays Shias and gives them power against Sunnis or gives Sunnis power against Shia. At the end of the day, they want to divide everybody and get everybody fighting. And I think sometimes they're succeeding, but not in all cases.
By the way, I did find the BBC article, Iraq probe into soldier incident, and it's got them with the guns, hand grenades, fake wigs, out reportedly attacking Basra police. And there was other cases of U.S. forces being attacked by guys dressed up in bin Laden outfits. This is full spectrum dominance. You've got to manufacture the war so people really believe Al-Qaeda exists. And if you got to dress up special forces to get the job done and attack the Shiites to get them killing Sunnis, well, by golly, you do it. And just incredible. And then the Iraqis were holding them. This is our supposed allies saying, look, they were attacking. We're going to have a trial. So they just had the British troops attack the base, kill a bunch of Iraqi troops that were trained by the British to get them out of there. Syrian Girl joins us. Syrian Girl, what is the feeling of people in Syria? I mean, are they... I mean, this is an invasion. This is proxy armies, Arab fighters, the ones that were in Libya being brought in to invade your country. This is part of the proxy wars. They admit that they've got military paid off, defecting over to try to overthrow the country. And then I guess bring these purges in. They're saying they're going to kill minority groups of Muslims that are part of smaller sects. They're also saying they're going to force the Christians out of Syria. How do you think the West is going to be able to sell this to the public when they do what they've done in your country, the same thing they've done in Libya?
Our people are not going to buy it because our people have a very long memory and we remember what happened and we won't forget what they're doing now. So, you know, I don't need to tell you that they're not buying it because you can see it yourself. You know, it's been 12 months now. There haven't been any mass, you know, rallies. There haven't been any support for this foreign, armed, funded, and even oftentimes the men themselves are foreign. There's just no support for it. So, you know, this has nothing to do with whether or not they agree with the government or not. People who oppose the government know what's going on. So I don't see them selling it to Syrians at all. For me, I can't see them having any way forward unless they attack, unless they do as they're saying, which is to get NATO and have a no-fly zone or an invasion. And how are they going to do that when Russia's not going to let them? I don't see a way forward for them.
Continue.
Okay. In terms of Syrians and how we feel, we're both afraid and excited. I know that once the war starts, I know where I'm going to be. And, you know, we're ready to defend our land to the end. And we think that Israel better not think that it's going to be left out of that global war. It's, you know, it's going to be directly in the line of fire. If Syria is going, then so are they. Our enemies are numerous, but we also have some very good friends. So Syria is not going down without a fight. That's what I'd like to be known.
What about the Russian fleet that's docked there at your port? What about the fact that Russia says, well, they vetoed the UN attack, and so now they're saying, well, we'll go ahead, and now the UN's saying they'll go ahead and get behind it and not even follow the rules. I mean, this is crazy, a major escalation.
You mean NATO, yeah?
Yes.
I think that for Russia, Syria is a red line. And that's because they're based in Tartus. Their naval base is one of their last positions in the Middle East, and their last defense against Europe and Turkey's missile defense treaty. So for Russia, it's very important to maintain their relationship with Syria and not have Syria be taken over, yet, you know, be another one to fall to the US and NATO sphere of influence. So if Russia's not going to back down, and if they're going to disobey the rules, the only foreseeable conclusion to that would be World War III. I certainly don't doubt that they're prepared for it and that they will do it, you know. Whether nuclear bombs are involved, I don't know.